welcome to another episode of Video Game Logic. Today's episode was recorded on October the 26th, 2021. I'm your host, Gaming Psychologist, and with me, as always, with his sanity meter filling up.
Caffeine Rage. It wouldn't be draining?
Yes. Whatever.
Or
in your insanity meter. Your stress meter.
The insane in the membrane.
That's right. On today's episode, we will be discussing the October Gameclub, which is Darkest Dungeon. We will reveal to you the next Gameclub game for November. Next year's BlizzConline on pause, as Activision Blizzard looks to, quote, reimagine the event. For our weekly community corner, we've got a couple of submissions this week. Ubisoft can't stop harassing people. Players have a ton of complaints about Nintendo Switch's online N64 games. And we're going to talk about Nintendo Switch Online plus its expansion subscription costing $50 a year. Finally, if time allows, and also if one of us, mostly me, is not passed out, we will have a Steam Discovery queue. Timestamps will be in the show notes following their respective topics. Hello, Rage.
Hello.
How are you this week, sir?
Caffeinated.
Me too? I don't know how long it'll last. I was telling you before we started recording, I had a really shitty night's sleep last night. I slept for about 4 hours in total. And I just, one of those nights, where you just lay in bed and you're like, God, I can't go to sleep.
Yeah, I hate that. Just, random insomnia for no damn good reason.
Yeah. Yep. It doesn't happen to me too often. I'm very fortunate that, generally speaking, I lay down, I go to sleep, no problem. But not the case last night.
Yeah. My bad one is, I'll lay there for a while and then just start doom scrolling on the phone because, not much else to do. And I do have a blue light filter on my phone at least for when it gets late. So, it's not as bad as it could be, but you also get to a certain point where, you go past tiredness and, it kind of does a buffer underflow. And it's like, okay, I'm fully awake now.
Yeah. I've had that experience before.
So you just gotta, wait it out till you're tired again. And honestly, you're just going to frustrate yourself and trying to force yourself to sleep, which is just going to make you even more awake, ironically enough. So sometimes it's just best to go, look at idiots on Reddit.
Yeah. Usually when this does happen, I will, I'll get up and go to the living room and sit in there and do something. Mm-hmm. And usually once is enough. And I got up a couple of times last night. And then, but in doing that, the dog gets up and she wants to go outside and she wants a treat. And it's after a couple of times, I was like, I'm just going to fucking lay in bed. I'm better off to just lay in bed. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I did do that.
Well, I'm lucky that Adita sleeps like a log. So, I can just pop on the phone and not worry about waking her too much unless, start playing something, obviously, but right.
Yeah. So. That's me. That's where I'm at. And for last week, we did Franken content. I got a smidge, just a touch of food poisoning.
Yeah, you had some foul.
Yeah. Apparently. That's the only thing I can figure, because, I don't know, an hour and a half before we were, ready to record, there were, shall we say, violent expulsions from my body. And there was no other illness. I didn't have a fever. It just, hit me and was there, and I went to sleep, and I woke up the next day, and I was more or less okay. Little rumbly and tumbly there for the next day, but then after that, I was fine. Mm-hmm. So, whoopsie doodle. I would have much rather not had that happen.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah, what also sucked
food poisoning a couple of times in my life.
Was whenever you texted me, I was sitting there drinking my pre-show coffee.
Yeah, I'm very sorry about that. I was hoping it would just stop and would go away. It did not.
So I basically popped on the computer, did some Operation Log Bitch for a while, and then called it a night. Basically, once the coffee started to wear enough where I could sleep.
Yeah.
Which I have the metabolism where I can drink a cup of coffee and then go to sleep a few hours later. So, I time it for the show. I'm pretty much done with my cup of coffee now, so I'll be ready to go to bed at midnight-ish.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Sweet.
So
I'll be ready to go to bed whenever my body
talking about
dies.
Deep dark things.
Indeed. Let's segue straight into our game club.
We're skipping games we played this week because it's Game Club week.
Yeah, we've gotten to where we do that. I think that works out quite nicely. But anyways, for anyone who has never joined us for Game Club before, Rage and I intentionally play the same game at the same time for a month, give or take a little bit. Sometimes it bleeds over, depending on how things work out. And then we talk about it. We tell the community plenty of time ahead in case they want to play it as well and participate in the discussion. And I want to encourage people to do so. It's been a while. I miss whenever people would send in stuff to talk about Game Club.
Or even past Game Clubs.
Yeah. Any Game Club you want. Feel free to contribute. We'll read your thing on the show or put it in if it's an audio clip or something. But anyways, yes. So for Spoopy Month, we always try to play a dark and or spoopy game. And this month was Darkest Dungeon.
Yeah, ended up we didn't pick a spooky one, more of a tedious one.
Yeah, we'll get to that soon enough. Darkest Dungeon released... Well, Darkest Dungeon was an early access game that was funded through Kickstarter 5 or 6 years ago. Mm-hmm. And it's considered sort of one of the early successes of that model.
I mean, it released in 2016, and they're working on the sequel now.
Yeah. But anyways, Darkest Dungeon is a Cthulhu-esque dungeon crawling rogue light game with turn-based combat elements. It's very interesting. My initial impressions, and we're just gonna dive in. We're gonna spoil stuff about the game. Neither of us beat the story, but the story is pretty easy to figure out, like, what's gonna happen just from sort of the intro to the game and what goes on. But you and I both were positive on this game sort of partway through the month. Like, we'd started playing it couple hours into our runs. Like, oh yeah, like, it's really interesting. Like, the game oozes like
style.
It's just style and atmosphere. It's got an excellent narrator.
Yeah, like and the healers are the plague doctors, and it has this dark fantasy styling to it that just is style wise, I can't think of really any place it goes wrong.
It's got an excellent soundtrack, excellent sort of ambient noise, excellent music. I already mentioned the narrator. Art style is wonderful. It manages to be sort of grotesque without being gross. It manages to strike like a good balance between, like, ooh, you can tell that these are like, gross monsters or wretched people or whatever, without being like overly like sickening. It strikes a balance between being kind of gross but not being like gory and disturbing, if that makes sense. I was very impressed. Some of the early art assets, like, I thought, let's go, and maybe this is definitely highly informed by the context of like more modern games, but I was like, this is almost like quaint, or like sort of cute in a way, just because of how well it strikes that balance between, like, dark and grimy and gritty and nasty without being like, oh god, like, that's excessive, so yeah, art style. I feel like the menus kind of stick to that as well. Like, the menus, everything seems to be themed really well, I guess is what I'm getting at. So presentation, A+, setup, A+. The story hook for the game is like, the player character is like
the descendant,
the descendant of a noble who like owns this land where, quote unquote, the darkest dungeon is, and sort of he squanders
too deep and
he digs too deep and awakens the thing from deep within the earth. And so like he's, to set up the story, like he writes you this letter and he's telling you all this stuff, and then sort of it's like he sends the letter and then he shoots himself and kills himself, and then it's portrayed as like his ghost is like narrating the story to you as you go along. I read some stuff about the end, and apparently like he's the final boss.
I mean, that's not a surprise.
No, that is not a surprise.
I didn't know that, and I'm not surprised in the slightest.
Yeah. But, in the game survives the first couple of hours of contact with this. Everything is new and novel, and you're learning about stuff, and you're being introduced to things. Very quickly, the gameplay loop becomes, oh, wow, that's neat, to, oh, wow, that's it? And then the frustration sets in.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll let you talk for a moment as
I honestly didn't get terribly far in it. One, unless I just clicked through it, the game tells you practically nothing on how to play. So
yeah, not really.
So it's a lot of kind of sitting there trying to figure out what all these different stats mean and all the placements and everything, because how the combat works is it's a party of 4 versus however many. 4 playable characters, and you get new characters off the stagecoach to replenish your barracks, which you're going to do a lot. And the idea is taking 4 characters into the different dungeons to essentially level them up and boost them up so they could go on to the next tier. Without mods, characters are limited to areas that they go to by their levels. So once you level past a dungeon, you cannot take a high-level character back to help boost your other characters. So you're forced to constantly rotate, and this isn't even considering the sanity mechanic, which I just found so frustrating. So the idea...
The sanity... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, the sanity mechanic is a good idea that gets executed badly.
Yeah, so the sanity mechanic, each character deals with stress of the different dungeons and the Cthulhu-esque monsters in them by getting stress or mental stress. And once you get past 100 points, you have essentially a mental break of some sort, depending on the character. I'm not sure if it's just a complete random, if it's based on their class or what. But then once you get past 200, you get to the point where the character could just, have a heart attack and die. And that's actually how I lost my first one in the run was, I was on the very last fight, and they just kept getting picked on by the monster to the point that they actually had a heart attack. They were at full health, but because it kept doing stress damage to them, they just had a heart attack and dropped dead. And there was other runs or sub-runs, I guess, because it's all kind of this overarching roguelike experience where it's essentially a roguelike campaign where, it's this one run that lasts, 15, 20, 30 hours or however long.
Yeah. You're playing as like I said, like it's set up like you're, the descendant of this noble person. I don't think your person is any of the characters. I think you're like the guy who's running the town.
Yeah.
That
you
springs
are
up around the darkest dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like even though it's a roguelite in the sense of like you're doing dungeon runs and you have, people that can die and there's a lot of randomization, like your character per se never really dies. He just keeps hiring people to throw bodies at this problem.
Yeah, pretty much.
Which, I mean, I can dig that. That kind of fits in with the, Cthulhu-esque narrative of like, you're some guy who's trying to solve this problem and you keep hiring people to deal with it. That kind of fits. Like I've played the Call of Cthulhu RPG a couple of times, and that's usually how it winds up. There's some guy who's got a weird problem in his basement, and he hires you and, your party to go deal with it. So, my first character death was, I got into a battle, not even a boss battle, but just like on one of the longer dungeons, just kind of getting worn down. And I was contemplating whether or not to abandon the run. And
which also gives you stress, by the way, which we'll get to how you deal with that later.
Yes, but I was contemplating abandoning the run, and then I got into a fight, and I'm like, okay, I'll do this fight and see how it turns out. And my person on the first turn gets hit with a crit and goes down, and it applied bleed to them. And so then when it came over to my turn, before I could even do anything, they took bleeding damage, and they were in like that critical state. So whenever a character gets down from damage, every time they get attacked, basically it's like a dice roll. And if they fail, then they die. And if they succeed, then technically they could survive while being downed forever, as far as I know. But he took bleeding damage and then died before I could do anything to solve it. That pissed me off.
Yeah, one of my runs, the very first battle, I had a crit that just, one of my characters went from 0 stress to over 50, like 60 or 70 in one round of combat before it got back to my turn. Typically it goes like your guys, then the opponent.
Yeah.
And it's just, at that point, it's just, kind of, okay, what can I do to just kind of salvage this run up, enough so that I'm not losing a bunch of money, because, this guy's going to have a mental break within, a couple rooms. Because it's not even just, dealing with the enemies. It's also every so often, the characters build up stress just because they're in this dungeon. There's random events that happen in the dungeon. You'll find, things to interact with that, if you, do something with them, that also could give you stress. And it's just, ugh.
Yep, sometimes even opening a treasure chest can give you stress if it's like it's booby-trapped or it's cursed or, whatever. Sometimes you have to make hunger checks where your people might have to eat food and that stresses them out.
Yeah, or another one is that the characters can have negative quirks. So they may have to deal with a treasure chest because they're obsessive.
Yeah. So they open it automatically. Like, you have the option to open treasure chests or not, sort of. But, then that might happen. You get a quirk with someone who's obsessive, or even, like, accidentally, like, something happens and it triggers the chest opening. Like, sort of a random event or something. There are, I guess, positive things that happen, too. Like, you can find stuff that, like, it's like you find a campfire or something, and your party can rest for a moment, and that can heal them a little bit and reduce their stress, unless they have a trait or a quirk or a trinket that gives them some kind of a negative, like some kind of debuff.
Yeah, which honestly,
resting in a campfire is actually stressful.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't even mess with the trinkets because every single one I had, the negatives was not worth the small benefit it had.
Yeah, same. I did not find a trinket that I thought was worth using.
Now, some of the longer dungeons where you are forced to have an encampment, that enters an interesting kind of strategy layer where you can pick where you want to set up camp, and then you have a time limit of however long to use secondary skills that your characters have to reduce stress, to heal up a little bit. Assuming, of course, they don't have some sort of weird quirk that, makes, the positives negatives, because of course, right?
Right. There are a lot of, I was going to say, I'll stop myself for a second, but no, there are a lot of those.
Yeah, it's like every single character, you have to either send them to the asylum to, remove some horrible quirk, or, just deal with it. Which I know,
send them to the bar and hope for the best, or the whorehouse.
I know, the Cthulhu-esque aesthetic of, everybody's damaged and terrible, but it doesn't make for fun game design.
No, so the problem is the core gameplay element of this is randomization. Someone that I watch, so for Gameclub, I always will play the game, and then before we do the show, like the day of or the day before, I will go and I will look at some reviews, and I'll look at some critics that I follow that, I kind of trust their opinions on, and we'll see what they had to say about whatever game it is that we're playing, and see how my own sort of feelings and interpretations line up with theirs. And I I agree with this statement, but I didn't think of it this way. One of the critics that I went and watched a short YouTube video that they did said that it was like a single-player Hearthstone with how much randomization bullshit can come out of nowhere and completely turn something around, usually to the player's detriment. And that's just not fun. Like, a little bit of randomization every once in a while, absolutely. Spice things up, element of danger, tension, stress, like, good. Those are good game design elements when handled in moderation or handled properly, but so much of this game has to come down with you just being lucky enough that you don't get fucked by all the randomization, enough times in a row. Because it's like, your people will randomly develop quirks, like bad quirks that cause them to have more stress or take more damage,
especially if they leave the dungeon with over 100 stress.
Yeah, or if they don't that they won't listen to your orders sometimes, or all the time, or that they just won't do anything, and then they leave the dungeon, and then you try to remove their stress, and you send them to the tavern, for example, where they can rest and relax. Well, there's a chance they could lose their trinkets, or that they could get into a fight and get damaged, or get more stress.
Or what's even worse is they have one of the quirks where they have to do this one specific thing. The tavern keepers, drinking at the bar, so you can't have more than 2 people because you haven't ground enough relics to be able to expand the bar to buy another goddamn stool. Which
that's the sort of the back end of it. Sort of aside from having your people, which do level up, the maximum level is 6. You start at level 0. If you survive one dungeon, you're promoted to level 1, and then otherwise they gain XP to level up all the way up to a maximum level of 6. And those carry over until they're killed, obviously. But the rest of it comes down to building up your town to give yourself more stuff. There's a tavern where your people can go rest. You get like a church. There's the wagon that brings people in that can be upgraded. There's a few other things, too, that are there.
Yeah, like the blacksmith that does absolutely nothing until you upgrade it quite a bit.
Yeah.
Which I just found frustrating.
Yeah, but I think the idea, and this doesn't work well either because of how random everything is and how long it takes to grind stuff back up after you lose something. I think the idea is it's like how most roguelites will sort of, capitalize on this of like, okay, well, this is your little bit of progression that makes future runs easier so that you can get farther and get more stuff.
Yeah, but the thing, the lesson it didn't learn from other roguelikes or roguelites, or whatever genre you want to put this in, because it could really straddle the line on both of them, is that usually whenever I fail a run, it's my fault.
Yeah.
It's not the game absolutely fucking me because I triggered something, or not even triggered something, a random event happened that gave just enough stress to cause someone to have a psychotic fit, or a random crit knocked a good 20 to 30 points of sanity damage into a character and caused them to go berserk, or just have a heart attack and die.
Right. HP is not that hard to deal with in this game.
As long as you have,
stay fairly low.
Yeah, as long as you have one of the healer classes, you're fine there. And one of the things I've read, just looking at kind of the meta of, okay, how the hell do you deal with all this stress? Because
yeah,
is people are just saying, well, just take characters in that can that can stun all the time and just chain stun. Well, that's not fun. If I were to deal with chain stunning, I'd be playing World of Warcraft Battlegrounds.
Hi-oh. But yeah.
I mean, pretty much if you have to cheese a mechanic like that, it's a bad mechanic.
Yeah. If you can cheese it for, lulls or speedrunning or something, that's fine. But if you fundamentally, either need to or in order to make the game, like, fun or playable or whatever, then yeah, that's bad game design. So yeah. What else? What else is there? I mean, that covers most of it. Do you have other?
Not really. I mean, I just had trouble playing this because it was just so damn depressing, which I know it's a Cthulhu-esque game, but it was just it kind of triggered something in me that just made me not want to play it, on top of just feeling like it's tedious and honestly, at the end of the day, boring, because you're dealing with the same thing. Once you get in, once you figure out the combat loop, outside of it, just screwing you over because of random things, there's not nearly as much here as it seems like there is.
Yeah. I also found it pretty boring, I think, by the end. Like, after a few hours, I had the combat loop figured out. And it's like, okay, is this it? And from what I looked up online, yep, that's pretty much it. The game throws a couple of surprises at you across your 30, 40, 50-hour playthrough, depending on how much of a completionist you are and if you're using the DLC or not.
More like masochist.
Right. So yeah, it's a great skin that's wrapped around a good idea.
More like
that is
a great skin wrapped around a rotten husk of gameplay.
Right. I was gonna say it's a great skin wrapped around a good idea that they undercooked and it came out all lumpy. I hope the second one is better. I mean, there are plenty of people who like this game. I think we are in the minority, and I don't know if that's because of the types of gamers that we are. Sort of, this is not our, not our first rodeo. We're that enthusiast level who play a huge variety of games. We talk about games on a regular basis. Like, we've seen better, we've played better, we've enjoyed better. And we approach games, I think, more critically than sort of the average player does. Not to, like, shit on, like, a normal person. Like, we're the fucking weirdos in this situation, I think. So not to, like, down anybody or begrudge anybody who had fun with it. But I think we're in the minority because we engage with games in a different...
I mean, let's put it this way.
Level.
On Steam, it has a 91% positive rating on recent reviews. And 90% out of 88,000, almost 89,000.
I wonder how much of our view on this has been skewed by time, too. Like,
Possibly.
if we played this back in 2016, when there weren't quite so many of this type of game, maybe. But I just feel like we've seen games do this better. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe it was much better in the time period when it was released because it didn't have as much competition, as much that it sort of iterated on its ideas and done them better. And if that's the case, I mean, fair enough, but in 2021, Darkest Dungeon is I feel pretty middling.
Mm-hmm.
If you can deal with the randomization, like if that's something that like really speaks to you as a player, you probably love it. And if that sort of stuff really truly doesn't bother you and you're drawn in by the aesthetic, there might be something here long term. Otherwise, I would say, if you really want to check this out, play it, I don't know, 4-5 hours. And as soon as you start to be like, man, this is getting repetitive, just stop. Because you're right, it is. And there's really not much else from that. So, do you have anything else to add?
Not really. I would say that look for it on a sale. I think this pops up quite often on Humble Bundles and different bundles these days because the sequel actually is out. It's an Epic Game Store exclusive. That's why we haven't heard about it because, of course, right?
Right. Also, currently, Darkest Dungeon is on Game Pass.
I wasn't sure if it was on Game Pass. I didn't go looking on it.
Yeah.
So
I saw it.
Yeah.
I looked today. Just while I was looking for Game Club games for us to talk about for future Game Clubs, I was like, I wonder if Darkest Dungeon's on there, and it is. I don't know how much longer it's going to be on there, or even how long it has been on there, but it is there at the moment.
Yeah, that's kind of the downside Game Pass is that things rotate out sometimes pretty quickly, but usually it's at least a year.
Yeah.
Looks like it came out on Game Pass in June if the release date is anything to go by on here. Because that's the wrong
Okay.
release date for the game.
June of this year, I assume.
Yeah, it says June 9th, 2021.
Okay.
Which is definitely the wrong year.
Right. Okay.
So it
Well,
turns out the real horror was the gameplay all along.
Right. Instead of we were the monsters all along, it was the game that was the monster all along.
More like monstrous.
Which is a real shame. I wanted to...
Yeah, I really wanted to
hoped
like
to
this
really
one
like
as
this.
well, but it quickly got tedious. I mean, I only got a couple runs in and just saw how tedious it was already getting.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right.
I was right. It was a short game club, huh?
Indeed. 30-ish minutes.
Hey, long enough to get random critted by Eldritch Horror and, just have a heart attack.
Very true. Very
I think I'd rather
true.
have a heart attack than play that game again. Yeah, a mild one.
Right. All right. Well, our next Game Club game then for the month of November in the year of our Lord 2021 is going to be Watch Dogs.
What, Jesus?
Right. The original Watch Dogs. Let's see. You can get Watch Dogs. Didn't Ubisoft give it away for free
Several times.
and then I believe the Epic Store has given it away. And then obviously you can buy it on Steam.
Hang on, I was doing my favorite part of whenever there's a Game Club game I dislike. Deleted!
Delete. Yeah. Okay, Watch Dogs is not a Game Pass. I didn't think it was, but it never hurts to look. Anyways, we're going to go back to a time many years ago when people still seemed to believe that Ubisoft could do something other than sexually harass its employees.
Yeah. Hey, we'll see how much sexual harassment's in this game and how well it aged.
There is definitely some. I have played Watch Dogs all the way to completion back when it released. What was that, 2014, I think? There is definitely sexual harassment in that game, and I expect it doesn't age well. But I remember enjoying my time playing it, so we'll see if it holds up 7 odd years later.
Yeah, look at it this way. It also clears us to eventually play probably the more interesting of the Watch Dogs games. Eventually, right?
Eventually.
But not today.
I believe I think I've got it through Uplay. Pretty sure I've gotten it through Uplay. I don't know. I have it. So.
I think I have it as well. I'll have to actually go double check that one.
Yeah, I've definitely got it on Xbox because I bought it digitally.
Weirdo.
Which, yeah, I know.
No, the proper term. Peasant.
Yeah. I bought it on Xbox near when it released digitally. I was a weirdo then. Like, people didn't, other than the PC, like, people didn't do downloads like that on console very often. I made the switch to all digital early. Like, I think 2011 was when I started buying all of my games digitally.
I'll sometimes buy things physically, but that's more Switch games.
Mm-hmm. So anyways, yeah. Moving on to our first news topic of the night.
Because we pretty much knew this one was going to be short, so.
Yeah. So, next year's BlizzConline is on pause as Activision Blizzard looks to, quote, reimagine, end quote, the event.
More like waiting for the dumpster fire to cool off, right?
Right? Waiting for, they're having a beer. They're waiting for all this to blow over.
So, BlizzConline is their online event because, COVID's still a thing. Because, right? Dumb states
United States, especially.
Dumb states like
some other
ours,
places.
right?
Yeah.
Just can't take this shit seriously.
Excited. I was so excited. On a positive note, related to COVID, which is a weird sentence to say, but the FDA approved vaccines for children 5 through 11, I believe, is the age
Yeah.
range. So I'm gonna call the health department tomorrow, find out when they're gonna start dosing kids, and also when I can get my booster shot.
Yeah, I need to look into the booster shot for myself as well. Would this be 7G or is it a multiplier? So I'm up to 12G.
It's probably an exponential thing, really. So 5G, 25G is...
No, remember I got my flu shot, so I'm up to 6.
Oh, right. So then you'll have, 36?
Ooh.
36G?
Some Galaxy Brain stuff going on now.
Absolutely. Anyways, back onto our topic with a shitty, sexually harassing, horrible company.
Mm-hmm.
That's not Ubisoft. It's another one.
Yeah. Turns out there's a lot of these. So additionally,
Indeed.
we would like to take some time to reimagine what BlizzCon event of the future would look like. This is down. I lost who it was. God damn! I had the name highlighted, then I clicked off of it. Or this is it's not a particular person. It's just the press release. The first BlizzCon was held 16 years ago, and so much has changed in the time since. The statement continued. Whatever the event looks like in the future, we also need to ensure that it feels as safe, welcoming, and as inclusive as possible. Right?
Yeah, I mean, you might want that, but it's going to be hard to do that if you keep sexually harassing.
Might want to do that for your company first, right?
Yeah.
We're committed to continual communication with our players and yelling at them, do you not have phones? I wonder if they're doing this just to duck people asking about Warcraft 3 Reforged. And yes, I did see the Nerd Slayer video about it.
Who knows? Maybe they are.
Oh. Didn't Diablo 2, the remaster, come out and it also had issues? Because of course it did.
Because of course it did.
I think it had a bunch of server issues, and it requires an online connection for single player, because of course it does. I'm not sure if it's been fixed, though. Now I'm double checking going to Metacritic. Oof. That's nasty. A Metascore is 80 for the PC version, but the user score is 2.9.
Oh, that is pretty rough.
What's the Switch version? Because that's going to be the interesting one, huh? It also is telling that it's 2.6 over on Switch.
So scientifically speaking, it's no bueno.
Yeah.
It's not very high.
Yeah, but it's also the PC version just lists Activision as the developer and not Activision Blizzard, which, how times have changed, huh?
Yeah. Trying to hide that, that beautiful Blizzard name.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're doing.
Yeah, it's only slightly tarnished, right?
Right, only slightly.
Yeah, I mean, Diablo 2 Resurrected. They might have to perform another one. User scores across the different platforms. PC... This is just user scores, by the way. 2.9 PC, X, Box One, 2.6 PS4, 2.7 Switch, 2.6, and that's, I mean, it's just right.
Yeah,
which I know it's user scores, and only people that are really pissed off are really upset are going to really come to Metacritic to air grievances. It's not going to get very positive reviews here, but at the same time, that's what they're telling.
Yeah.
This was Blizzard. This was the golden child, right?
One of the golden children, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say Blizzard was thought of as one of those.
Well, Valve has just gone to sleep, so, right?
Yeah.
They haven't, they woke up, released Artifact, which was kind of a nightmare. But did do Half-Life Alyx, so right?
Yeah. Most people are pretty pleased with that, from what I can tell.
Yeah, I just had to go over and see what about Diablo 2 because I figured it was going to be nasty, and it's every bit it, if not worse. So yeah, I mean, let's just call it what it is. This is them hoping that things are better next year, so they don't have to answer for all the shit going on, right?
Yeah. I mean, let's be real here. I don't like having to. I don't like saying this, but they almost certainly will not answer for what they did.
Mm-hmm. Because the government screwed up some paperwork or something, or did something incorrectly.
Yep. They did something that was incorrect, which sucks. Like, I didn't figure that ultimately they would succeed with much, but it sucks
that
so
they get
much
on
to be
technicality.
Yeah.
Assuming that, something else doesn't spring forth from it, right? Because...
True. Anything's possible.
And it is frustrating to see something like this happen on a technicality, but also those rules and regulations are there to protect people from, the government going nuts on them.
Yeah.
So while it is frustrating in this case, right?
Yeah.
Because we've seen how totalitarianism works, right? And
yeah. We have. Sometimes, I don't know. I'm not gonna go there. I'm not gonna go there tonight.
Oh, it looks like, by the way, I just happened to see it. Watch Dogs is on deep discount right now.
Where is it deeply discounted?
Steam. Sub $8. I'm not sure how long this is actually going to go on. Till November 1st.
Week-long deal offer ends November 1st.
So there you go.
So what is that? Next Monday. So yeah, if you listen to this and you don't have Watch Dogs, you can get it for $7.50.
Or the complete edition, which is $12.
And you get the Watch Dogs bundle, which has 1 and 2 for $15. I do not have Watch Dogs 2. I might do that. We'll see what it's on sale for on... Wait, no. I shall raise the Jolly Roger. Not buying things from Ubisoft. You shouldn't either. I understand if you want to, though.
Yarg.
Anyways. Alright. What do we got next? Navigating back over to the correct windows. Or tabs.
We're off to the community corner.
Right. So we got a couple community corner submissions, and then we piggybacked one thing onto one of
because
them.
it kind of made sense to do so.
Yeah. Speaking of Ubisoft and then being bullshit, Ubisoft can't stop harassing people.
Yeah,
so there was a tweet.
Shamelessly semi-stolen from James Stephanie Sterling. This made the rounds on the Twitter today.
Yeah.
If you were playing Far Cry, was it 6?
Far Cry 6, yes.
Okay. Sorry, I stopped giving a shit about Far Cry at Far Cry 1.
Understandable.
If you were playing Far Cry 6 and you stopped playing for an extended amount of time, a couple weeks, the game actually emails you, or the company emails you, as the dictator in the game that you're trying to depose, saying you failed, that you could try, you didn't try very hard, and gives you your hours played in the email. And I'm conflicted on this because it is an interesting marketing thing to try to taunt you to play more. But it's also Ubisoft doing this, right?
Yeah.
And Ubisoft already has a lot of mechanisms in its games to make them pseudo-addictive on top of usually some sort of bullshit monetization and just, right?
Yeah. So it's real. I wouldn't be happy if this was any game company. It's like, if I stop playing a game, leave me alone. I stop playing it either because I can't play it for one reason or another. Circumstances, something about the game means I can't play it. Or because I don't like it, so I don't want to play it anymore. Like, don't try to manipulate me, because that's what this is. This is manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so the tweet, I mean, this is just a link to a tweet that we've got. I'm sure by the time that this episode goes live, there will be news articles and YouTube videos and the like about it. But the tweet is from someone named Brendan Sinclair, managing editor for gamesindustry.biz, according to their
So
Twitter.
I imagine Games Industry Biz is going to have an article about this in 6 hours.
Yeah, probably. But it says a lot of games are already ruthlessly designed to maximize engagement, but now they email and hassle you if you dare stop playing them. And there's a couple of screenshots from, let's see, Far Cry 6. It says it was amusing to watch you fail. Ubisoft, Far Cry 6, and a picture of the bad guy, who I still can only see as Gus Fring from Breaking Bad because they got that actor.
Well, it's more, Blandy McBlanderson.
Yeah, but it says, Hola, Rojas. I wanted to thank you for giving me free reign in Yara. Take it easy and know that Yara is in capable hands. El Presidente. And then it says, surely you can do better than this. It's 3 hours time played is for this person. And it's like, that is manipulation. That's trying to make you feel shitty.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh no, I left this dictator in charge. And also, I'm a bad gamer for not playing a game for more than however many hours.
Now, the question is, would it still email you if you triggered whatever achievement it is to that you completed the game?
I don't know. Interesting question. I would be surprised if it didn't email you. Because I feel like the email you would get was like, oh, good job, you did whatever, you freed the island, but why not another go-round? Maybe you could do it faster or better, or find the rest of those secrets or something,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's what you'd get that way. Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like I have a good chance of being right.
That's just one of those things that, on the surface, it's not that bad. And I've seen a few people point out that, well, this is just them, taunting you, being a little silly about it. But it's also, one, manipulation, and two, the fact that this is Ubisoft doing it. And they've had issue with harassment.
I've had issues with harassment for years.
Only, several.
Yeah. Only several years. So, yeah, this is scientifically no bueno. Major harassment, major bullshit. I'm not there for it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not about it. So
yeah, pretty much the same for me. It's just it just feels ick,
Oh yeah, definitely.
Would have been funny if it was like some sort of small indie dev that doesn't have the history that Ubisoft does. Maybe, actually, most likely. But I think it's just kind of the weight of everything Ubisoft has done in the last several years, right? That's just kind of skewed this to more.
I mean, it just feels much more malicious.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for.
And I want to have good faith is the wrong term, but I want to think that the developer who proposed this or implemented it, like, had a, was like, oh, this would be a neat type of interaction for our game. That would be neat. And then it had been twisted. But obviously I have no way to prove that or know who developed it, or if it was like some marketing dickhead or an executive or what, no way to know. But I want to believe that it was just like a guy or a gal there who was like, oh, this would be a neat way to, immerse our players a bit more in the game experience. That's what I hope.
Yeah, but I have no faith when it comes to Ubisoft doing things in good faith. So I'm going to go, it's probably some suit saw like an article in Psychology.
Yeah. Yep. You are probably correct, sir. That seems likely.
And speaking of being psychotic, let's talk about the Nintendo Online Pass expansion.
Yep.
So this is something I wanted to talk about last week, and this popped up at the community corner with the complaints about things because it launched yesterday. I think it was yesterday. Pretty sure it was because I had to update my Switch. And turns out Nintendo can't even port a 25-year-old game without issues because of course they can't.
Yeah.
So, do we want to talk about the price first? Because, all right.
Yeah, we can talk about the price.
Okay, so is this the first time that we've seen an DLC to essentially a subscription service? Or, yeah, I guess technically this is a second tier, but the way that they word it, it made it sound more like it's purchasing a DLC to your expansion. Or an expansion DLC to the Switch's online capabilities, which are extremely limited.
Yeah, I think this is the first time we've seen that.
So, they had some weird wording when they announced this. They're calling this the expansion pass. So, this gives you access to the Nintendo 64 library, the access to the Sega Genesis library, and also, for whatever reason, the upcoming DLC to Animal Crossing, which is just weird.
Yeah.
Mind you, the Animal Crossing DLC is not a standalone game. You still have to have the base game. And honestly, anybody that's really interested in Animal Crossing is likely, unless they have some sort of need to play these retro games, is just going to buy the DLC because the DLC is $25 and this is $50 a year. And if you lose the subscription, you lose the DLC as well. The way that they worded it, it made it almost sound like they could add some more DLCs in the future. And if they do that, it sounds interesting that it's a Game Pass for their DLCs, but they've not released anything official about that. And it's just such a weird thing that have random DLC added to this when it's otherwise, retro games.
Yeah. It feels too... I mean, one, it's weird. Feels weird. Two, it feels like... And this is like a classic, Nintendo sort of moment where they do things.
Oh, no, we're getting to the old Nintendo moment.
Right. Okay. But this whole thing feels like a Nintendo was like, yeah, fuck it, let's do this. And they didn't think about it. And it's like a bad, messed up, poorly implemented idea.
Or the other option is that the Happy or it's not Happy Home Designer, it's because that's kind of where it's harping on. I'm blanking on the actual name of the DLC, but the Animal Crossing DLC is there as kind of a loss leader because it cost them so much to license the games for N64 and the Sega Genesis that they had to bump up the price, but they had to have some sort of thing added to it because nobody's going to buy in at $50 a year plus pretty much have to buy some sort of controller because the control schemes for these games suck, or at least the N64 ones. I've seen nobody talk about the Sega Genesis ones. No one. And that's either a blessing or a curse, and I'm not sure which. So, the Switch.
Yep.
Has 4 face buttons on each Joy-Con. Pretty standard, right?
Pretty standard.
So, for N64 games, mind you, there's a couple profiles that you could switch back and forth to, but both of them have this same problem, and there's no default remapping. Is that A and B are A and B, then X and Y are left and down C buttons, which makes no sense. And depending on the game, the control stick on the right Joy-Con just mirrors the left Joy-Con, because of course it does, right?
Right. Why wouldn't it?
And there's no remapping controls, like I said. And third-party controllers are trying to just, figure out ways around this limitation. So if you really wanted to play N64 games, you're having to buy their N64 controller for the Switch, which is another $50, and it's also sold out because Nintendo. Or at least it was sold out last time I looked.
Right, Nintendo with their manufactured artificial scarcity.
Uh-huh. It's just, it's amazing to me that Nintendo has such a rabid fan base these days with how much they screw them over. They truly are the Apple of gaming.
Right. And I posted a tweet the other day that was like, hot take from a PC games enthusiast. Like, PCs are better than consoles in every way. There's no point in owning a console except for the Switch. And that's because the Switch still has got a couple of unique things in the marketplace, being Nintendo first-party exclusives that aren't available anywhere unless you want to emulate them, which, fair enough, you can do that on a PC. And I would advise doing so,
especially
in as many cases as possible.
Especially these things, because, oh boy.
Yeah. But, they still offer, Nintendo first-party titles, and if you want to play them like that, and also that portable experience, which you can get, that's getting closer to being, easily accessible.
It'll be interesting to see what the Steam Deck
hardware
does.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be probably our best bet for a while. Because a lot of these Switch-esque PCs, they are either stupidly expensive or stupidly expensive and have very crap battery. Or if they don't have a crap battery, they're essentially a web book. Or a Chromebook,
Mm-hmm.
So, going to be interested to see exactly how the Steam Deck handles things. But, yeah, it's just... I'm just looking at I looked at the lineup, and I don't see what's the $50 a year is worth. People are banking on Nintendo to have this amazing library coming up, and based off some of the data mine stuff, they may have at some point, but just not worth it right now. It seems like.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree that it's not worth it.
Yeah, now what is the actual game list? No, it's on one of these links. Come on, where are you? Okay, so the N64 launch lineup. Super Mario 64, which, hey, wait a minute, did they just have that as a physical release?
They did. They did just have that as a physical release. Timed
physical / digital release.
Yeah, their 30th anniversary dealio.
Yeah, I miss Mario 35.
35, yeah, 30.
Yeah, the one battle royale I actually liked. Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, because of course, right?
Of course.
Mario Kart 64, which, mind you, has issues because it's asking for a game pack to be able to save ghost data. Right?
Seriously, they didn't even fix that.
No, that's in the Eurogamer article. Look at the screenshots. That's what we're going to get to in a little bit.
Ah, yes.
Oh yeah, that first screenshot on the left. N64 controller pack not detected. If you want to save your ghost data, please insert N64 controller pack into the controller port. Whoops.
Yeah, whoopsie doodle.
And you can also see the weird ass control scheme there on the Eurogamer. Compare in-game controls to what you have to deal with. So, in order to the thumbstick, the left thumbstick and the right thumbstick are the N64 controls. The D-pad or D buttons are the D-pad on the controller. Z left and Z right are the Z buttons. In order to hit the C buttons, you have to hold ZR And then I believe it's the face buttons to have access to the C button. So you can't actually hit A in one of the C buttons at the same time unless it's the left or down right?
Yeah.
But anyway, continuing on, right?
Yeah, carry on.
Scroll back down. Land Wars, which, no idea. Never heard of that one. Oh, sorry, that's Star Fox. That's the European release of it. Eurogamer, of course, right?
Yeah.
I guess foxes are too sexy for the European.
Lilat Wars. Wasn't Lilat like the name of the solar system in Star Fox or something like that?
Never really played it, so.
It's been, God, 20 plus years since I played Star Fox 64.
You're old.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway,
fucking old.
Sin and Punishment. Never heard of that one. Dr. Mario 64. Mario Tennis 64. Operation Winback, right?
Yeah, I'm looking up Sin and Punishment right now.
And Yoshi's Story. Mind you, Mario 64. There's also a quirk about that one. Mind you, before we get into emulator issues, that if you want the game to have vibration, you have to actually change the region of your Switch to Japanese, because the Japanese version is a special release that has vibration controls.
Well, that's odd.
No, that's dumb.
So, Sin and Punishment is a rail shooter, a Japanese rail shooter.
Oh.
So, I guess it was popular in ye olden times.
Mm-hmm. Well, someone at least.
Yeah.
But the Eurogamer has some interesting videos on here of some of the sound glitches. If you have a chance to listen to those, they're hilarious. It's up there with Assassin's Creed with the characters having no skin.
Yeah.
Another one you might want. Do they have it on the Kotaku? Zelda has some very, very noticeable input lag. Actually, they don't have it here, which is a little bit shocking. There was now I need to go see if I can find it. Where? Oh, okay. I'm not a huge fan of ScreenRant. They tend to be sensational.
Yeah.
But I'm adding a ScreenRant article to the list because they're the first one that came up that had the one I was looking for. I'm dropping it on ton of complaints. Take a look at the ScreenRant one and the tweet that has a picture of Link and a controller, and watch that.
Okay. Where are you dropping it? Discord?
No, on the show notes.
Oh, on the show notes.
And tell me how that's fucking playable.
All right.
Or excusable, I guess I should say. Technically playable, but right.
Oh, that's easily noticeable input lag.
The Mario one's also bad. It's on further down.
Yeah.
And they have the same Mario Kart one from the Kotaku article where it has a bunch of glitching on sound and it just starts hitching and slowing down for whatever reason. Mind you,
yeah,
$50 a year.
And you could emulate better than that on PC for free.
You could emulate better on that on a Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, I was gonna say you don't need all that powerful hardware by modern day standards to play any of these games well. Like there have been smartphone emulators for years for N64 games that have worked fine.
I mean, only reason why I didn't put it on my RetroPie was that controller issues, you know?
Yeah.
Because the Nintendo started their weird-ass controllers with the N64. And supposedly they also screwed around with the fog and the water temple, but... right, it's just... The fact that people got to the water temple with controls like that, right?
They are very dedicated players, if that's the case. I mean, more power to them.
Or very, very good.
Yeah. Although I think to be that good, you probably have to be dedicated, but... more power to you. Like what you like, play what you enjoy, don't let me stand in your way, but like, hot damn, man, woman, whatever. Like, that's, oh boy.
And we never even got to the Sega Drive games because, everybody's hung up on the N64 because this is first party stuff as well, right?
Yeah.
So, the Mega Drive games, or Sega Genesis, Sonic 2, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Streets of Rage 2, Echo the Dolphin, Castlevania Bloodlines, Contra, Hard Corps, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, Golden Axe, Gunstar Heroes, Musha, Phantasy Star 4, Raster, Shining Force, Shinobi 3, Return of the Ninja Master, and Strider, with upcoming titles F-Zero X, Paper Mario, Mario Golf, Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, Pokemon Snap, and Banjo-Kazooie confirmed. It's just, I'm just baffled that it released in this state. I mean, could these be edge cases that are just getting a lot of views? Yes. But the fact that edge cases are happening this often is still, right?
Yeah. I mean, if the edge cases are happening this often enough, they're probably not quite so edge.
Mm-hmm. True.
But I mean, I just assume that they shipped out a half-baked product. This isn't the first time that Nintendo has done something like this. It probably won't be the last. But because they're Nintendo, most of the time people just go, "Oh, Nintendo."
Mm-hmm.
They're just Nintendo. It's fine. They'll fix it. And maybe they will. Nintendo does seem to have a track record for fixing this stuff, but that's not really the point. Mm-hmm. Nintendo stock took a pretty big noticeable dip after this. I've got about a dozen shares of Nintendo stock just because I like to have stock in things that I'm interested in. And I think I lost like $100 off of that dip.
Ouch.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just waiting for my dividend reinvestment. Let's see, Nintendo. Yeah, I'm down $80 today on my Nintendo stock. Like, it was today. Although no. I had a little bit of a dip a few days ago. Slight recovery, and then another dip. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm just reading the Eurogamer article to make sure there's nothing else I'm missing. But it's like, Sin and Punishment is another game with an issue, this time with how the Switch version translates the original game's controls. Here, the straight left and right buttons are mapped to the yellow controller buttons, the C buttons. In the emulated version, these are replicated on the Switch's face buttons in the diagram seen below by holding down the shoulder button. But the controller shows that the Switch version also has you pressing the right trigger to shoot, which remaps the face buttons at the same time, removing the ability to strafe right and shoot at the same time. Because, of course, right?
Absolutely.
And no way to remap that. Because, of course not. Oh.
So.
Do you think they're just drunk over there? Yeah, a little too much sake and, just...
Let's do a line of sake. I don't know, maybe they're doing lines of sake. Let's do a line of cocaine and a shot of sake and get it, get into it.
The Nintendo developers have their ties around their heads,
I have read and seen things where that, like, generally speaking, like, that if you are there, like, a lot of times you get forced to go do things you don't want to do as part of that, like, corporate collectivist culture. Mm-hmm. And that's a huge culture shock, especially for like Americans and Europeans who wind up, working in Japan or other Asian countries. Like, honestly, I might not be too surprised if it's like, hey, we're all going down to, the break room to do lines of coke. Like, come on, you're doing it. Peer pressure. So we didn't read off the next like news article. We just talked about it. But I had put it in there separately. The Nintendo Switch Online expansion subscription will cost $50 a year. Mm-hmm. But I mean, we just dove into that. So
it's all just one thing, and you can't really talk about the problems of it without bringing up the price tag. And that's the thing, right? It's that this is $50 a year on top of, it includes the lower tier, so it's kind of a tiered system, but kind of not.
Yeah.
Which honestly, at $20 a year for what it does, it's fine. Online capabilities, the fact that backup is tied to something is annoying. Having the NES and SNES games, fine. Something to play on and off every so often. Even though, one thing that I find annoying about how Switch handles emulation is that they should have the rights to be able to have at least the basic manual in these games. Right?
Yeah. That's interesting.
And
just make a PDF.
And especially the NES and SNES eras, you were expected to sit down and read that fucking manual to know what was going on.
Yeah.
So even here's a name that hasn't come up in a while. The Blockbuster idea of having the little card stock in the back that told you the controls, because that's how they used to handle it. Was since they didn't want to give out the manual because it would get stolen in like 2 or 3 rentals at best. They would have a reusable card stock that wouldn't be that much, that told you basic controls and what happens, or what to do in the game, or what you had to know to be able to play it. Yeah. Nintendo does nothing of the sort. It just expects you. Oh, well, you've played these games before. You're one of the 5 people that's played this really obscure NES game, right?
Yeah. You know what this is. You've been here before.
And I will say that at least the emulation of the NES and SNES games are pretty good. It's just seems like N64, too much for the software. Or more, probably a really shitty emulator.
Yeah.
Oh. I expected little, and somehow Nintendo still managed to disappoint. Not that I was going to buy into this, because I will admit, I'm interested in the Animal Crossing DLC because I've been playing Animal Crossing. But I'm not going to pay $50 a year for this.
Yeah.
And that's... And here's the thing, is that they figured out that people were splitting the family plan. So they upped the price of the family plan compared to the base one.
Which, of course people are splitting the family plan, right? Of course they are.
So now it's $80 for a family plan. So, right?
Yeah.
Which that one's a pain to try to do. Oh,
that's about on par with the Xbox one, though. Mm-hmm. The Xbox, gold family plan is, I think, $70.
Yeah, but here's the thing, is that Xbox offers more than Nintendo.
That's true. And Xbox has got this shit nailed.
And at $50, you're right there at that cusp of what PlayStation and Xbox offers. And both of them offer a lot better service and a lot stronger service and a lot more reasons than what Nintendo does.
Yeah.
Hell, at $20, it's hard to argue at times what Nintendo does, unless you do a lot of online play. Even then, it's a bit of a kick in the teeth, but right?
Yeah. Yeah. Nintendo, just copy Microsoft. It's alright. We know you don't want to. We know you're out there with your weird batshit ideas, and you want to be like the weird, unique kid. But just...
Stop.
Just copy Microsoft on this one. I promise. It'll be fine.
I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed in you. Which would be a good title for the show if it was a Game Club week.
Right. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Even though I'm pretty sure we've used that one before.
Possibly. Probably.
I mean, we've had a lot of episodes.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
So that wraps up the community corner, I think. I think we talked about Nintendo longer than we did Doctor's Dungeon.
Yeah. Close to it. Rage, how can people send us stuff? Where do they send it to?
VGLpodcast@gmail.com. Drop us a line on the Twitter, VGL Podcast. Or drop by the Discord. You can find a link over at vglpodcast.podbean.com.
Indeed.
So how dead are you?
I'm, like, zoning out.
Oh, so zombie.
I went through my whole 32 ounces of coffee, and it's like, I'm coming down already.
I'm coming down, man. So I take it you want to skip the doobly-doo this week?
Yeah, let's just skip on over that this week.
The bed's a calling, right?
Oh my fucking god, the bed is calling. It's calling my name. Go lay down.
Yeah,
settle up.
Yeah, I need you inside me.
Well, I mean, if you insist. God, I've waited so many years to hear that. I'll be there. I'm getting in the car right fucking now, and I'll be there.
Well, there's your burst of energy.
Yep. I'll see you in the morning, sweetheart.
Oh, I'm no longer in the mood.
God damn it. My one chance, and I blew it. Although not in the way I would have liked. All right. Hey, Rage. Hit him with them socials and things.
I've been Caffeine Rage. You can find me on Twitter, GameOCR. Or if you wish to be my friend, Caffeine Rage over on Steam. And you've been? Other than a sleepy boy?
Sad. I lost my blew my chance. But anyways, I'm a gaming psychologist. You can find me on the YouTube by searching for that. You can find me on Twitter at JMA4707, where I shitpost and make hot takes and, whatever else. Maybe my friend. Well, you come to the Discord, you can talk to me there. You can be my friend on Steam, JArthur4707, and also if you want to see me be a horrible person on a vampire stream, you can do that by going to twitch.tv/Runicarts. I played there in a game that they host on Wednesday, and I also now play Battletech on Fridays, but I'm the one who's running that game.
Are you a horrible person there as well?
I'm all of the people, and some of them are horrible, so yes.
Now, is your vampire there?
No, he's not there.
Yet.
You've played the Flashpoint DLC from the Battletech game. I believe.
I think so. I know I have it. I played a bit of it, but I can't remember if I don't think I beat it.
Have you done the mission or done the Flashpoint with the guy who uses the bird as his image?
I don't recall.
I think it's called One Man's Trash. Okay. I
really don't recall.
Well, I sent a screenshot of it to Ian. That's Runic. That's his actual name is Ian, and he made this that's gonna serve as my character thing that pops up when I'm talking. It's really 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 good. Because there's a little parrot or a parakeet or something, and he's like, oh, my camera's broken, so I'm just gonna use this default image, and it's a bird with sunglasses. I was like, that'll just be me. This can be me. So, anyways, carry on.
Well, I guess scroll all the way back to the top, and once again, you could contact us via VGL Podcast, enunciate, right? At gmail.com with your letters, voicemails, game-related topics. Tweet us VGL Podcast at gmail. Tweet us at VGL Podcast. What can I say? I'm going to be a little bit of a sleepy boy as well. It's not like I haven't said this a couple hundred times.
It's okay.
Tweet us
at the best of us.
Don't you wish? Tweet us at VGL Podcast. Or if you wish to drop by the Discord, you can find us over at vglpodcast.podbean.com with links to that, the RSS feed, the show notes, and links to all our stuff. Assuming Jared's actually remembered to post his horrible person stream online on that. Probably not.
I'll do my best.
I'm going to take that as no. For some reason, our patrons give us money. Patreon.com/VGL podcast, which we do appreciate the support. Even though sometimes gotta wonder, right?
They love us, or at least like us,
Tolerate,
and I can handle. I can also live with that. I can live with all of those outcomes.
Our intro and outro music is On the Ground by Kim McLeod. You can find his work over at Computech.com. And
as always, as his lovely music starts to roll across my voice, bye-bye now.
See ya.